Thank you, Ms. Sadlowski, for the considerate introduction. Hello and welcome to faculty, distinguished guests, family, and friends. I am honored to be named valedictorian with Greta and Annie, who have each in their own way pushed me to be a better student. As I was thinking about what I would say today, I remembered that I had the privilege to stand at this podium once before as the class speaker at the lower school moving up ceremony in kindergarten, when I gave a riveting speech on warm fuzzies and cold pricklies. But when I reflected on that moment, I realized that in my own kindergarten way of thinking, I somehow sensed what I clearly understand 13 years later, the dynamic learning environment that exists here at King, which allows teachers to pursue and share their passions with their students. And yes, this started with Mrs. Palm, kindergarten teacher extraordinaire. She taught us to read chapter books and understand math through money, but more importantly, she taught us to live as good citizens through daily praise of warm fuzzies and redirection of cold pricklies. That was Mrs. Palm's passion. It seems each year teachers at King create new intriguing classes inspired by their own passions. A former King teacher, Mr. Trudell, created a class titled Expeditionary Studies. This was a year-long class that culminated in a kayaking expedition around the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. We prepared for our trip through the study of various earth sciences, including examining weather and water conditions. But Mr. Trudell's true passion was kayaking, so we kayaked so much that we became level 3 kayakers, allowing us to endure the conditions of the Outer Hebrides. Mr. O'Neill teaches a class about the Troubles, the historical conflict between the Catholics and the Protestants in Northern Ireland. Though he always had an interest in Irish history given his heritage, his interest in Northern Ireland peaked with the global implications of Brexit. His class traveled to Northern Ireland, where they interviewed politicians from both sides of the conflict. The students came to understand firsthand that, given its historical legacy, there will always be some divide between the nationalists and the loyalists, as reflected in present-day politics. Dr. Zobek was fascinated by archaeology from a young age, as he dug holes all over his yard looking for ancient remains. As an adult, he continued his digs throughout the United States and several countries in South America, especially Peru. Dr. Zobek now teaches an archaeology class at King, which sprung from a similar course he taught as an adjunct professor at Yale. His students dig at various sites, from our own Simon House to, more recently, Cove Island. But most importantly, the students learned that knowledge of archaeology is useful to expand traditional historical research. And in fact, those often absent from history, such as women and children, are rediscovered through archaeological data. But for me, of course, the epitome of a teacher following her passion in promoting a dynamic learning environment is Dr. Schulman and her Advanced Mathematics and Science Research Seminar. I had the pleasure of being one of 4 students this year in the seminar's very first class. We each held research internships starting last summer that continued throughout the school year. We were able to work in labs alongside graduate and postgraduate students and gain research experiences that are typically only available to select undergraduate students. We worked extremely hard in our labs, but Dr. Schulman took our exposure to research to the next level. We learned the proper format for scientific posters, prepared presentations on our research, and even wrote manuscripts that could be submitted for publication in research journals. Many of the core classes at King exhibit this same dynamic learning environment. Mr. DeFelice came to every single AP biology class beyond excited to teach a new concept or account his interest in different species. Have you ever asked Mr. D about beavers and how they support the ecosystem? You definitely should, but leave yourself some time. And his energy was not just limited to classes. It appears Mr. D spends his spare time making PowerPoint presentations with voiceovers on different topics, so we never learned biology without Mr. D. And I know I will never meet a teacher as passionate about math as Dr. K. In my BC Calc class last year, which took place in the fishbowl, she would literally jump from whiteboard to whiteboard, writing notes, equations, and practice problems while we swiveled around in our chairs to try and keep up. You can constantly find Dr. K tracking down students in the hallway to make sure they signed up for the American Math Competition, or strongly encouraging them to join the math team. Really, every teacher at King deserves to be mentioned for their commitment to their students, but there just isn't the time. So the advice I give myself as I head off to college, that I share with all of you, is to look for professors who mirror the teachers we had here at King. The teachers who are so passionate about a topic that they spark that same interest in their students, or help them to develop an interest they never knew they had before. I hope for myself and for all of my classmates that we will find the same dynamic learning environment wherever we may be heading in the fall. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2019.